All right, so we're back covering Money in the Bank 2022. Last left off discussing the Alexa Bliss segment that occurred there and just the reactions that it got. But so we come on to this episode, first starting off with the tag team title match between Champions Usos versus the Street Profits.
Right, and the Usos are not only the Raw Tag Team Champions, they're also the SmackDown Tag Team Champions.
So they hold both the belts. Dom gets to see what the belts look like, and immediately he goes, why are they colored? Like, why are they different colors? Like, and I was like, it's the branding, Dom. They have to, in order to differentiate the titles, because they both look the same, they have to have the color of the brand that they're on.
Kinda, sorta, sometimes. They do a little bit. They do a promo, the Usos, where they're in Vegas for the event, and so like they do a little bit of, you're gonna bet on red, we're gonna bet on blue. I think they kind of end with like, we're just gonna bet on the Usos. Yeah, they're the ones, Jack.
They're the ones, and of course, the Street Profits make their entrance, and a lot of people went into this match thinking we were going to see a breakup between the Street Profits, because apparently, I don't know, I don't watch the weekly shows, but that's somewhat being teased.
You know, yeah, no, every time Montez Ford is on TV, a bunch of people on the internet talk about how that guy's a future champion, a future Hall of Famer, and you know, they don't say so many nice things about Scott Dawkins. And gosh, he's a hard worker too.
Yeah, and he definitely shows that in this match and even in the
Angelo Dawkins. I knew I was wrong about Scott. Angelo Dawkins.
Yeah, and you know, like many people also took notice, this was kind of his match to kind of showcase that, because that's kind of what a lot of people expected was instead of Montez turning on him, they expected him to turn on Montez out of frustration, maybe because of a loss, and we'll kind of see that slightly play out in the finish of this match, but not really.
And I'm scared, Jack. I'm real scared because you and I, we've been around long enough to know that there's always a tag team and there's always one that you think is going to just go head over heels and be super successful. And which one, Jack, ends up being the one that sticks around? It's the other one, you know? How, and I think they do it, they used to do it to spite us. They were like, oh, you think John Morrison's a breakout one? I'm going to make it start of The Miz. I'll show you. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, but so, you know, people definitely had high expectations for this match. Obviously, two great tag teams in the WWE. Definitely have a lot of time to go at it. And so, I think it definitely delivered. It was a pretty good tag match between the two. I can't actually, I don't think, well, they probably faced off when they were on SmackDown. I just realized, because I totally forget that they were on the same brand as one another at one point.
Oh, yeah. And this is, like, easily, like, the best match of the night so far for me. Like, this one was exciting. This one was, like, at any point I thought, this, like the previous championship matches, are the Usos really going to lose it tonight on Money in the Bank?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I was convinced, and I already in my head canon was thinking, oh man, they're going to lose this, and then they're going to have to go back to Roman with their head in their hands, and he's going to be real mad, and this will be really exciting. Like, the Street Profits put up one heck of a fight. They were kicking out of everything.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because it's so funny looking back on this, because it's just like any wrestling fan would probably be just as confused as I was. So they hit, I think they hit like the double super kick, I think it was. Or like, I don't know, the Usos hit some big move on Angelo Dawkins and he kicks out. And I'm shocked. I'm like, wow, I'm surprised he kicked out. And Dom looks at me and goes, why did he kick out? And I was just like, what do you mean? Because he was like, what happened? And I go, he kicked out. He kicked out a big move. And he was like, well, why did he kick out? I was like, what do you mean? How do I explain this to you? Like, what do you exactly mean by why did he kick out? And he was like, well, he got his arm up. And I'm like, yeah, he's kicking out, meaning the match still going on. And then I think because, obviously not being a fan, he's still thinking under the guise of it's predetermined and all that. I was like,
right.
Well, he's kicking out. The match is still going. It's not over just yet.
You have to take that hat off, and you got to don't ask why did he kick out. You got to ask how could he physically kick out, right? Like how could he possibly muster the energy, the strength to kick out of that?
Yeah, and that's why I had to start saying to him it's a pretty big thing because looking at it under that guys, you're thinking how did he kick out in the sense of they just hit a big move on him, and I was saying him, match is continuing on.
As a guy who used to play wrestling video games for a long time in my high school days, it's so funny how I don't think it's true, except it might be true. Like if you hit a big old move and you're too slow to cover in the video game, you lost the 3 count. You would have hit that 3 count if you went up you dropped on that guy and got that pin right away. But if you hit the wrong button and you accidentally picked him up or you accidentally did a taunt, you guaranteed yourself that it didn't work. And I think that's so funny when it happens in real life, where it's like they landed too far away. They're selling the impact on their own body, or they're just sort of crawling. And wow, he gave them enough time to muster the energy to kick out. Art imitating life, imitating art.
Yeah, and then I think Dom was just genuinely impressed by a lot of the moves, especially seeing Angelo Dawkins do that dive onto the outside onto both the Usos. And then I was explaining to him because I think right before he just hit the frog splash, or it might have been after, I don't remember. But, my dad was explaining to Dom about, oh man, Montez Ford has such crazy athleticism. He gets so high up. And then Dom turns back his focus to see Montez Ford launch himself over that turnbuckle onto the Usos on the outside.
Yeah. Hey, at this point, my buddy Joe texts me. We've been texting for a minute about how these guys are related to The Rock because he's certain that they are. And he goes, it sounds like the Samoans are supposed to be the heels, but I find myself rooting for them. LOL.
That was an interesting thing too, was trying to see if Dom could pick up on who was supposed to be the crowd favorites and who were the bad guys and stuff. Gosh,
I mean, from the get-go, the Street Profits come in through the crowd while the Usos are standing in the ring with that high and mighty kind of opinion of themselves. Once the action starts, though, nobody's cheating, you know what I mean? And nobody's doing anything underhanded. It's a real even affair.
Yeah, really good, especially, it was really back and forth. Like you mentioned, it really kind of gave that slight hope that, hey, maybe the Street Profits can pull this off, but they retain.
They did with what move, Jack?
The 1D, right?
Yep, and my buddy Joe sends me his little Apple emoji face doing the face palm, and he goes, the 1D? Because a man's old enough to remember the 3D, and I tell him, oh yeah, one and done, man. Bubba and Devon approved. Bubba said, so long as you're winning matches with it.
All right, so the Usos retain, as you mentioned, with the 1D, obviously referencing back to the Dudleys. It was also kind of funny to see Dom try and guess what was the finish, because seeing the big moves, trying to figure out what move was going to put him away.
Yeah, that's really, I'm sure, really cool. It's this one, right? That was a big old move. And then one of the Usos breaks it up, right? Or, that must be fun.
That was another thing. He got, I forget which move it was, but it got hit. And then it gets broken up by a guy coming from off camera. And that one surprised Dom. Then there was another one that happened where he saw them coming because the camera wasn't placed correctly. And he saw it coming and he was he started asking me about the production of stuff, and I was like, yeah, sometimes the good production is when you're able to get that right view where you can't see someone coming in to break up the pin. And then it was so funny because that in turn turned into a whole conversation where he started asking about just the full on presentation of stuff, because he was asking well, what's different about all these different companies. Because he saw the backstage segments and he was like, where are they? And I'm like, well, they're backstage, but like what we basically know is they're like backstage just somewhere in a hall getting interviewed. And he was like, well, like, and he started asking more about like other companies, and I was like, yeah, so WWE does like the backstage interview like that. AEW has like a set place, and like WWE also has a set place backstage too, but sometimes I was explaining to him it'll just be somewhere randomly backstage. And then I started telling him, and then New Japan has it set up like a press conference where there's the table, there's like a supposed press and interviewers there for them to give it like a sports feel. And so he started asking more about, well, what's the difference between the companies and, you know, how they present themselves and stuff like that. And so that was a cool explanation to give to him, was the differences in production, presentation.
Yeah, I agree. That's a really fun, a really fun element of this product to unpack with a newbie.
Yeah. And speaking of all that, going into the next match of the SmackDown Women's Championship, to a lot of people, a recognizable name in champion Ronda Rousey defending against Natalya. Mm-hmm. You know, much like Brock Lesnar came over from the UFC, you have Ronda Rousey coming over, and that's a big recognizable name for a lot of people who don't know the product.
And you know what, Jack? I want to shout out both the WWE video editing crew, which always gets doesn't get enough shout outs for like the hype packages for this match, because I wasn't into this match, Jack, coming in, but I watched that package and I'm like, oh my curiosity, it's been peaked. And then second shout out, Jack, to Natalya, who, you know what's funny? So again, on YouTube, somebody sort of makes reference to the fact that because she's related to Bret Hart, it's her uncle, right? Mm-hmm. Like by marriage, but she's like she might as well be a Hart. She's the representation of the Hart family. And like, just her proclamation that the sharpshooter is the most devastating submission in the history of pro wrestling is like 100% in character with somebody related to Bret. It's something Bret would say, right? And it's like, it's almost like there's this like delusion that it comes with that I'm like all about, because she's like, I'm gonna put you down because I'm a Hart and I've got access to the greatest submission of all time. But even the bit where she's dressed as her, right, parading around mocking Ronda Rousey, I'm like, where's shoot? Oh, and did you see the stuff on Twitter?
Yeah, I saw a lot of the remarks on Twitter.
Goodness gracious. And I'm like, okay, color me intrigued. I want to know what's going down tonight. And
I'll one-up you, sir. Talking about the sharpshooter being the most devastating submission, that I'll one-up you and say that not only is that something Bret Hart would say, that's something FTR would say. It's funny how you mentioned that. Like, I just thought about it. I'm like, I feel like I would see one of the FTR members talking about that on Twitter, because everyone knows they love Bret Hart as much as probably Bret Hart's own family.
I was just gonna. No one loves Bret Hart more than Bret Hart, and like, I don't know. It's like a funny, a relic of the late '90s, and it like works here. And it's just like, why do you think Natalya has a chance? Oh, cause she like, and you know what's funny about like the Owen Hart tribute stuff we saw at AEW? Like, somebody was really funny on YouTube going, for an Owen Hart tribute show, you know what better way to pay tribute to the man but by putting his submission hold on very wrong. That'll show him the love. Watch me very inaccurately put this leg lock on.
The best one I saw was, what better way to honor Owen Hart than to make the guy who was basically Shawn Michaels' guy win the tournament.
Yes. How funny. I didn't even think of that.
That was so funny. But, much like I would say, WWE really needs to give a raise to their people in the production and editing truck when they do these video packages, because a lot of times they excel at their purpose of not only recapping what's been going on in the feud, but getting you hyped before the match starts. And a lot of times people walk into matches not intrigued and become intrigued because of the video packages before them.
And I think that's an important asset to have because Ronda doesn't sell anything to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Goodness, great. Like for somebody who had a dream of being a wrestler, and I think we've seen this before, she doesn't look like she's having a good time ever. Like, ever. Like, it seems like we've inconvenienced her to be here and do this.
Yeah, and it's something, again, going back to when I was telling Don about the different productions, I was telling him, while I do enjoy, different companies trying to be different and all that, especially, like, with the way they present it, I told him I will always enjoy WWE doing this more, like, theatrical approach to the video packages, because it gets me more hyped, because it's like you're watching a movie trailer before watching the actual thing.
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
I don't want Excalibur really seriously talking about the physical ramifications of this contest. Someone's going to get hurt. No, I want Avengers versus Thanos all the time. I want big blockbuster, right?
With hand-picked music that really fits the feud right behind it.
Yes. And do you know what I miss? Jack, do you know that like in a hype package, right? Whenever like Triple H would nail someone with a sledgehammer, they put like a straight up gunshot effect on it in the replay. It'd be like, yeah. That's right. Like he shot the man in the face.
Oh man. But so getting into the match, what did you think about it, sir?
I was hyped. I'm excited. And Natalya, I think she took Ronda out for, a hard day at the office.
Yeah, it's definitely, again, something commentary played up as well, as I noticed they were talking about a lot about Natalya targeting different parts of Rousey, of course, because of the sharpshooter, and just pretty much being dominant the entire match. Or not the entire match, but especially like in the first half, she was really on Rousey.
Mm-hmm. There was a lot of like trading submissions. That was great. We were trying to get a sharpshooter on, but Ronda showed us, we can turn this into an ankle lock right quick. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, and then there's a spot where Natalya does get the sharpshooter on, and it's on the ring apron, so there's like she's hanging halfway off the apron while still in that submission.
Mm-hmm. And at some point in the match, Ronda is thrown outside. She's selling that knee, and it's been such a tumultuous summer, Jack. Right? I think, oh boy, here's another one for the list. And Natalya's like, oh, did you say knee? Right? Goodness gracious, hold my leather jacket. Bam! Targets that knee. Crazy.
Yeah, really targeting it, really wrenching at it in different spots. Again, like you said, there's still a trade-off of submissions from points, but this is where the targeting of the leg really starts coming into play.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the match continues on. I will say definitely exceeded expectations and probably exceeded a lot of people's expectations going into it.
Bleacher Report literally starts their review off with, this exceeded expectations.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And of course, the finish is Rousey getting her arm bar in.
Yep.
And making Natalya tap.
Yep.
And that's it, right, sir?
Oh, yeah, we're ready for the main event. Let's start running off the 7 guys. Oh, wait a minute! Whose music is playing? Jack, I so infrequently hear it, I don't even know.
Well, my thing is, they change it so much that I don't even know what Liv Morgan's intro.
Well, thankfully the audience knows. And actually, it's funny, Ronda knows too. So Ronda's all up on the ropes, and we're camera on her. When you got the music, you got the lights, and the best shot, Jack, is Ronda, all tired, disheveled, looking at the ramp. She goes, oh, shoot. And you can read her lips, and she don't say shoot. And I thought that was so good.
Yeah, and it was so funny, because the moment I see Liv coming down, in my head, I'm praying. Not only do I want her to win, like cash in and win, because I want to see her hold a women's title, but in my head, I'm also like, this was such a good pay-per-view to start Dom off with, because I was like, there could have been so many ways this went where this blew up in my face, where it was just terrible match after terrible match with boring sequences.
It has honestly been a really good show. It's been a pretty good show. And you know what I was thinking when I saw Liv running down the ramp? I said, oh, I don't think a woman's ever not successfully cashed this thing in. Oh, we're due for somebody not to successfully cash in. Oh, Liv is going to go up against Ronda Rousey. Oh no. Liv, go back. run away.
And now that you mentioned it, every woman has successfully cashed in. Now that I think about it, yeah. It's not like the men's where, well, they probably are going to go the men's route where we see a lot of successful cash-ins before we ever see an unsuccessful one.
And like, you know what they did with the men's, right? Cena was one of the first ones who unsuccessfully cashed in. And it's got to, I think, be somebody that big that could take the hit. Oh, you know, we'll joke around about it at my 20th anniversary. Because what happened to Damian Sandow? Aaron Stevens. That's what happened to Damian Sandow.
And it's funny because you said it has to be a big name, and someone came to mind, but I was like, I don't want them to waste it 1 year on them. I was thinking Charlotte.
No, you're absolutely right. I don't want it to ever. Oh, never. But we got Liv, and what happens, Jack? She immediately gets put in an ankle lock.
Yeah, and it was so funny because me and my dad are like, oh, no, don't do this. And Dom's just watching super intrigued because he's just like, this is his first time seeing it. I had to explain to him first what Money in the Bank was, and I had to explain to him, yeah, you can cash it in at any time, anywhere. I told him about how Rollins cashed in the middle of a match, adding himself to it. So he got to see this firsthand, and I was like, and in my head, again, like I said, I was like, man, this is such a cool like thing for Dom to experience firsthand. But I was like, what if she fails? Well, imagine his first Money in the Bank cash-in he sees is someone failing to cash it in.
Goodness.
And not only that, failing to cash in on someone who just went through a match and was obviously hurt through it.
So while you, me, and Mr. Castillo are all biting our nails, Liv kicks the bad knee. She straight up hoofs that bad knee. And Ronda lets go of the ankle lock, and on my mind, I'm thinking, all that work Natalya did on the knee. It's being honored. We're selling the knee. I mean, I wish she had hit a move on her, but she rolls her up. She rolls her up tighter than I've ever seen anyone rolled up. I thought, get away from them ropes. No ropes. Bad. But no, Jack, we got the old 1, 2, 3. And Liv, again, who was like heralded on the Twitter like an hour before, is just the star of the night. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, so great to see her win. You know, it's the one thing I'll always give to WWE, and that is that when it comes to their women's division, yes, for the most part, they've always kind of built it centered around the four horsewomen, but they also are known for giving other women a chance as well in these divisions.
Debatable. Jack, did you know that here's how I know it's debatable, Jack. Did you know that this transition from one women's champion to another women's champion, from Ronda to Liv, this is the first to not involve one of them four horsewomen in 5 years.
Yeah, I did see that as well.
For 5 years. We were trading that thing back and forth between four people. One of them went and ran away because creative had nothing for her. Goodness gracious, you at some point in the last 5 years held a stranglehold on this division.
Yeah. I think I almost want to say it's the same for the Raw women's one, but actually that side has definitely seen a lot more. Actually, I don't even know if I can say it's seen a lot more.
I think it's the same. No,
yeah, I think it's very much the same. Because now I think about it, I just remembered how Becky had it for like almost a whole year.
Mm-hmm. And who did Bianca strangle it away from?
Becky.
No, Sasha before that,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Always got to involve the horsewomen.
Goodness gracious. So now we have Liv versus potentially Ronda Rousey at SummerSlam. Or Liv versus, who said it? I think your dad said it. He's like, it might be Charlotte, and I barfed in my mask. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, I immediately saw people bringing that up, and I was just like, please no. Enough
Please.
Is enough.
Yes.
But really great to see her win it.
And Ronda was a good sport. We'll see if things change on SmackDown. Because, I think Ronda's due for a character change. I don't know why she's probably trying to be babyface. She should have beat up Liv. I guess she's going to give her a moment. Maybe on SmackDown. Beat her up. Be a real mean person.
Yeah. Especially because when you're coming in as an outsiders, you can't, like, it's like when Brock came back, it was like they knew right away he had to be a heel because no one's going to cheer for a guy coming in from an outsider's perspective.
Speaking of that, Jack, we got a video package of Logan Paul signing his WWE contract with Triple H and Stephanie. And did you hear the boos, Jack? Did you hear Las Vegas tell the world we don't want you? Logan Paul. Like, WWE didn't put them there. WWE didn't pipe those sounds in. I think they want this guy cheered. But Las Vegas turned up and said, oh no, boo you, sir. Boo you and your lifestyle.
Yeah, it was funny to see also Dom saw it and he was like, wait, he's actually signed to wrestle? I'm like, yep, full contract. It's not like, none of this one-time appearance thing. I mean, he's probably going to appear very rarely, but he's still going to be showing up in wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also get another segment, sir, where it's like a vignette. And with the way it started, I was very intrigued because I was like, this seems like the start of like a Bray Wyatt type vignette. But as it went on, even though I didn't catch a lot of stuff when it first happened, I was so confused. But then, thankfully, the internet started getting still shots, and now it kind of seems obvious who it is. But, people were very confused as to who this vignette was hinting at until, again, break it down in still shots. You see a license plate that says Latino Heat on it. You see a pair of glasses that the Dudleys used to wear, Kurt Angle's medals, and the Hardy Boys arm sleeves.
Yeah, I didn't catch any of that on the first pass. You just see an ominous figure walking in an alley and a lot of like quick cuts of church things and candles and, it's all very, I don't blame anybody for thinking it was the Fiend. The only thing I saw was the gold medals. And I honestly thought, are they giving some stupid, like, spooky gimmick to Gable Steveson? Because the only way you can ruin that guy more is to give him some spooky thing. I thought, too, it was Judgment Day, Don't forget about them, even though WWE has. I'm more worried than I'm excited. Because of what I've heard. Because, Jack, what people are pontificating on who it actually is. Who is it, Jack?
Edge, because he's the only one who's ever interacted with any of those people shown in the vignette.
I hate it. Why did we make a promo package for Edge? It's like 50-year-old Edge. And why, Jack, is he so devoid of a character that he's got to rely on this iconography from other people's characters?
Yeah,
let's put the Dudley Boys glasses there. Stupid.
Yeah, I saw people mention that too. Like, out of everyone, why does Edge need a video package to hype up his return?
Stupid.
But we get into our main event, the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, Sami Zayn, Madcap Moss, Riddle, and Omos. And that's it, right, sir?
Yes. Yes, until the end of this next thought. I text my buddy and I said, heads up, the main event is going to be made up of guys you've never heard of and guys you didn't think were a big deal when you saw them last. He made the comment about Lashley, and I'm thinking when he sees Sheamus and Drew McIntyre, he's going to think, oh, these guys are main eventers? And he hits me back with a pretty great text. Joke's on you. I've never heard of any of them. So yeah, Jack, we're gonna have our good ourselves a good old fashioned 7-man Money in the Bank. You know, 7's a great number.
Yeah, 7's a great number. It was a day.
Oh wait, is that Adam Pearce, general manager of something, coming out to say that in the spirit of Las Vegas, they're going to shake things up and they're going to include an additional member to the match, an additional participant, Jack. Goodness gracious, who did you think it was going to be before he said it?
The obvious in theory.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I thought MJF was going to turn up. I thought, honestly, like, if we were going to shake things up, MJF, who's been all but absent from All Elite Wrestling promos and videos and television, he could have showed up, for all I know.
The only other thing I saw was, like, and this, you want to talk about miraculous, this would have been miraculous. People said Cody showed up. Because people were like, hey, Cody can show up, win the briefcase, and then be like, all right, I'm heading home to chill and recover, and then I'll be back to cash in whenever.
That would be incredible if he can win that match with one arm tied to his chest.
But yeah.
But who is it, Jack?
Theory emerges from the locker room, and you can only assume that it's by Vince McMahon's word, except for the fact that Adam Pearce is, like, excited to introduce him, and you would think him being, like you said, the general manager of whatever would be more like, why are you doing this, Vince McMahon? But it seems like it was almost like if it was his choice.
It's weird, you know. The crowd booed like they're supposed to. The match gets underway. Before we cover the action, a few more thoughts from my buddy Joe. He asked, so wait, they're all Attitude Era knockoffs? He said, that Nigerian guy is a bootleg Great Khali, right? And then he said, that honorary Oos, that's a bootleg Mick Foley. He's even sucking up to the same family, a reference to our conversation earlier.
Oh, man.
Yes. I was rooting for the honorary Oos, Sami Zayn.
I was as well. I just think the story there was way too interesting in the fact of, you know, they even mentioned it. Oh, he'd hold on to the briefcase so no one can go after Roman. But then what happens if Roman sours on him?
Which he inevitably will, right? There's a lot of potential of like, oh, wait, Sami could just turn and the fans be behind him and we can see a champion, Sami Zayn. Let's go. But
yeah.
What spots stood out to you, sir?
Definitely the funniest spots of the night to me were when they all started teaming up on Omos to both not only bury him under the ladders but put him through the table. Solely because it's happening. They start teaming up on him, ganging up on him, and Dom looks over at my dad and I and goes, seems very racially motivated.
Oh no.
And I just start busting up and I go, you know what? I guess you can argue that. Because it was funny the first time, and then when they put him through the table, Dom just goes, okay, they aren't even trying to hide it at this point. Ali
G. Goodness gracious.
Oh, man, but that was pretty fun. You had Riddle doing an RKO off of one of the ladders.
Yep.
I'm trying to remember what else was there. Like, the big spots. Obviously Sami Zayn getting powerbombed onto a ladder. For the most part, almost was like just like they had to do like a ton of offense on him to like get him off his feet, which really put over him as the giant. Yeah, for sure. Seth Rollins constantly reminding me he's in the match, you know? I'm like, that's right, Rollins is out there. Yeah, and then of course... Not to keep track of. Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned the fact that you forget Rollins is in the match. I forget Theory's even in the match half the time. And Theory probably makes the most attempts at the briefcase, constantly sneaking up the ladder like while people are actually kind of fighting. Oh, and it's funny, you saying sneaking just reminded me of another funny spot where Omos is basically just destroying everyone, and then you get this angle where Sami Zayn is just hiding behind the turnbuckle on the outside. Like a Looney Tunes cartoon. I really enjoyed that spot, man. I enjoy Sami Zayn so much.
Yeah, I agree. Did when my buddy sort of made his Attitude Era rip-off or knockoff comment, right? I thought it was funny. I think he's implying in the Great Call he's a part of the Attitude Era, but he wasn't. But then I also wondered, I hope I don't have to tell him about why Riddle is doing all of Randy Orton's moves. Because to an outsider, I'm sure that looks very much so like a rip-off, because it is.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. Oh, there was also Theory taking all those blows from freaking Sheamus and Drew McIntyre as they're taking turns just clubbing the man on his chest.
In the anything you can do, I can do better kind of bit. That was really fun. His chest was getting really red. They were really laying into the guy.
Yeah, I was really hoping there would be a spot between Drew and Sheamus where Drew really started laying into him just so Dom can see just how red Sheamus gets after long matches like this. It was a pretty great ladder match. Obviously, there wasn't a lot of high spots, and that's due to the sheer size of all the men involved in this match. You aren't going to see a lot of those.
I think one that had less missed spots or botches than the ladies' match.
Yeah, definitely for sure. And this one definitely, without like the high spots, though, still had some spots that definitely caught Dom's attention too.
That's cool. You know what? Throughout the night, I wish I had written them down. But like, you know, when I'm sitting alone by myself in my apartment, I said alone and by myself. When I'm sitting by myself in my apartment, some of those spots elicit of like an audible reaction from me, right? Like a big old, like Montez Ford jumping over the corner turnbuckle. Like I can't not yell in excitement. And I'm sure in this match, there's at least two spots I'm completely forgetting because I didn't write them down. But then I went, whoa.
Yeah, and Dom's reactions to a lot of the stuff was really cool too. It was funny to see his reaction when Butch runs out or
yes,
because he's just like, who the heck is this guy?
Oh, you know, that was so good. And I'm so like, there's so many guys who participate in ladder matches like this that leave their cronies, their affiliates, their buddies like in the back when there's no rules to the thing. Kofi, every member of the New Day should have won a big old multi-man match like this because they're such a tightly knit group. So I'm excited to see Butch run out there.
You want to know? You want to know what's funny is how you mentioned like the New Day. It's like all I've just remembered was like the New Day found a way to get all three members in that one elimination chamber match for the tag titles, but yet they never think of coming out all together in like a match like this.
Two guys fending off people while the other climbs the ladder. Come on now.
Yeah, but get towards the finish of the match where people are obviously trying to fight one another to get to that top. But Theory is the one in the end that gets the briefcase.
Yeah, everyone gets a shot at like looking like they're going to win. I think Riddle gets the second to last like glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
Before Theory climbs up, takes the briefcase. The eighth man added late. Summon the booze. Vegas isn't happy. Taking selfies up there on the ladder. Goodness.
Yeah, and so Dom, again, much like how he picked up from the beginning, he was like, oh man, I can tell people don't really like this guy when he saw how everyone was reacting when he won.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie, Jack. Jack, this is in Las Vegas. This is 4 hours away, and we're in the summer. I was so very close to driving out there, Jack, seeing the show for myself in person. It was, Saturday. I could go. I didn't, Jack. Nothing stood out to me as something I really wanted to see. If Reigns and Lesnar were there, if Cody was there, that'd have been different. Could not be more excited that I stayed in to see Theory win.
Yeah, and so it's like, it's obviously split, but like the main thing that like me and my dad just feel is like, can we realistically see this man, like going back to the point where when he lost to Bobby Lashley, it made sense because Bobby Lashley's just that much bigger than him. can we realistically see this man cashing in on any of Roman or Brock, even if they are beat down?
I don't know how, but when he was up like face to face with Cena on Monday, he towers over him, and you're like, wait a minute, I don't understand anything now.
Yeah.
But yeah, like he has this briefcase, and it's Lesnar and it's Reigns, and hot diggity, no, he can't come anywhere close to those guys.
Yeah, especially because, like how I saw someone mention, it's also having to get through the Usos before getting to Reigns himself. And
even when you get to Reigns, though, what are you gonna do? Theory, no first name Theory. Goodness.
And the funniest one I saw though was who exactly is he gonna cash in on? Seeing as how the fact that Roman's never there.
Yeah.
He's gonna show up to SmackDown and they're gonna be like, "Hey, I don't know if you checked the memo, but Reigns isn't here for like the next 3 weeks."
Or, his options are Reigns or Reigns.
Yeah. And I've seen people trying to say, oh, well, he can cash in for one of the titles, but if they haven't been defending the titles separately, then it's like he has to cash in for both.
I think the tag match was also for both.
Yeah. So it's like...
It's just how we doing it, huh? Okay. Yeah. But my favorite meme to come out of Saturday was... WWE fans, you don't build new stars. Puts the Money in the Bank on Theory. WWE fans, not that one.
Yeah, I saw that one too, and I'm just now realizing, because again, like as we're talking about, he has to cash in on both. I think unless sometime soon they do start they start having Roman defend them separately. I think both our picks for whoever dethrones them for each title is looking not the best prediction-wise.
Like, it's going to be Cody. It's going to be Kevin Owens. It's going to be Drew McIntyre. No, who knew Theory's going to sneak up and make fools of us?
Yeah, and not only that, take both of them.
Golly gee.
And now I'm just slowly waiting to see... if we get a full year of RK Bro at this point.
We must be, right?
Yeah,
it's happening.
Yeah. I think
it's going to happen as a result of Orton being out.
Yeah, I think we've had a full year now, I think about, but they won the tag titles at SummerSlam. But I'm especially waiting for when we get to our end of the year list. We're talking about our top matches of the year. And I look and still see the fact that RK Bro is still a tag team, despite predicting that same time last year they'd be broken up by earlier this year.
Goodness gracious. How much time we got, Jack?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Jack, it has been a delight looking back at Money in the Bank from Saturday.
Yep, and it was even more delightful in the sense of seeing two people who normally don't watch the product watch it and get their opinions on it.
And Joe's told me that SummerSlam at the end of the month, he's hyped for it. Last man standing match, Lesnar versus Reigns. Hey, Jack, last man standing match. Some guy between those two is not going to be able to answer a 10 count. Could Theory, in theory, come in and swoop in and pin a guy who's been beat so bad that he can't answer a 10 count?
Imagine if they ended it with a double count out and he just comes in, cashes in, and pins him right then and there.
I think I just threw up in my mouth.
With that being said, thank you all for joining us for these 2 episodes of the new Season 3 of the Rule 34 podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jack, joined by my fellow guest,
Mr. Solis.
We'll catch you all later this month for WWE SummerSlam taking place in Nashville. And as always, if it exists, we have an opinion on it. Thank you, and we'll catch y'all in the next episode.